and we'll keep drifting, floating together through the mysteries, 100 life on Earth mysteries, looping softly, endlessly through the night. Tonight we'll drift through a 4.5 billion year old forest, frozen beneath Antarctic ice, yet still reaching for life. The immortal jellyfish that can reverse time within its own body, defying death itself, and glowing fungi that transform entire valleys into otherworldly galaxies of cold blue fire. There's nothing you need to do now. Just let your body sink. Heavier, heavier. Feel the mattress holding you, every muscle softening, your heartbeat slowing, thump, thump, matching the rhythm of space itself, shoulders melting down, jaw releasing, each breath pulling you deeper, deeper into the calm, the quiet, the dark. If this helps you rest, tap subscribe, comment, and hit like so others can find this calm too, but only if your eyes are still open. Otherwise, just drift. Now, let's drift into life on Earth, beneath Antarctica, beneath miles of ancient ice. There's a forest that fell silent millions of years ago, when the continent was green, when warmth still touched those southern lands. The trees are still there, frozen, perfectly preserved, their wood, their leaves, their seeds, waiting in darkness, roots still gripping rock, branches still reaching toward a sun they'll never feel again. And yet, deep in that cellular memory, deep in the structure of their wood, life hasn't quite surrendered. The pattern remains, the code remains, waiting, just waiting for impossible warmth. Thump, thump. Your heart knows this rhythm, the rhythm of waiting, of patience written into bone and blood. And in warm waters, drifting through tropical seas, there's a jellyfish, no bigger than your smallest fingernail, Turritopsis dohrnii, translucent, delicate, pulsing softly through the dark. When it grows old, when its bell begins to weaken, when other creatures would simply fade, it does something impossible. It sinks slowly down to the sea floor and begins to dissolve. But this isn't death, this is transformation. Its cells, every single cell, begins to change, reverting, becoming young again. The adult body melts away, reforms, becomes a polyp, a baby, and the cycle begins again. It has been doing this forever, possibly forever, refusing death again and again and again, heavier, heavier, your eyelids growing heavy, like time itself is pulling in your body, pulling you down, gently, so gently. In the forests of Brazil, at night, when the last light dies, the trees begin to glow, not the trees themselves, but the fungi growing on their bark, bioluminescent mushrooms, hundreds of species, glowing soft green, cold blue, like tiny galaxies scattered across the forest floor, like stars fell down and nested in the moss. They glow to attract insects. The insects spread spores, and the forest becomes something otherworldly. valleys filled with living light. A traveller could walk through these woods at midnight and see their breath, see their hands painted in ghost light, reflected in a million tiny lamps, deeper, sinking deeper into the soft darkness behind your eyes, in the Arctic waters, in the deep, where sunlight becomes memory. The Greenland shark drifts, 400 years old, maybe older, maybe 500, swimming slowly, so slowly, through eternal cold. It was born when Shakespeare was writing, when the first ships crossed to unknown continents, and it's still there, still moving. Its flesh is toxic with ancient compounds, its eyes clouded with parasites that dangle and glow. But it doesn't need to see, not down there, not in darkness that absolute. It just drifts, hunting by smell, by patience, outliving empires, outliving memory itself. Thump, thump, slower now, your pulse settling, matching the rhythm of deep time, deep water, beneath your feet. If you stood in a forest, there's another forest, a network of threads finer than hair, mycelium, fungal highways connecting every tree to every other tree. The trees are talking through these threads, sharing sugar, sharing water, sharing warnings. When one tree is attacked by insects, it sends chemical signals through the network, and distant trees begin producing defensive compounds. Mother trees, the oldest ones, send nutrients to their children, to saplings struggling in shade. The forest isn't individuals, it's one vast organism, breathing together, thinking together, without a brain, without a voice, just connection pulsing through the dark soil. Let go, let your thoughts drift like spores on wind, scattered, soft, dissolving. In Central America, in the rainforest streams, there's a frog, a glass frog. Its skin is transparent, perfectly transparent. If you held one in your palm, you could see its heart beating, red and alive. You could see its organs, its bones, its blood flowing through crystalline vessels. The frog is invisible on leaves. Predators can't see it, can't focus on it. It's there but not there, a living window, a heartbeat in glass, watching the world with golden eyes, while the world looks through it, never quite seeing, melting, your muscles melting into the mattress, boundaries dissolving between you and the darkness, between waking and dreaming, and in the vacuum of space, where nothing should survive, where radiation tears molecules apart, where cold is absolute. There are travelers, tardigrades, water bears, eight-legged and microscopic. They've been sent to space, exposed to the void, and they simply pause. They dry out, their bodies crystallizing, metabolism stopping completely, and they wait for water, for pressure, for possibility. Years can pass, decades, and when water touches them again, they inflate, stretch, and continue living as if nothing happened, as if death was just an intermission. Floating, you're floating now, between thoughts, between heartbeats, suspended, in Mexico, in mountain streams, the axolotl drifts, pink, feathered gills waving like coral, a salamander that never grew up, that stayed young forever, neotenic, keeping its larval form its entire life. But that's not the miracle. The miracle is what happens when you damage it. Lose a leg, it grows back, perfectly, bones, muscles, nerves, all correctly arranged. Damage its brain, and it regenerates to brain tissue, memories reforming in new neurons. It can repair its heart, its spine, its eyes, over and over, understanding death as something temporary, optional, reversible. Your breath so slow now, barely there, like waves on a distant shore, soft, rhythmic, eternal, at the bottom of the ocean, in trenches so deep the pressure would crush steel, in darkness so complete that eyes became obsolete millions of years ago. Life thrives. Fish with teeth like needles, transparent heads filled with glowing organs, bodies that produce their own light, their own heat. They've never seen the sun, never known anything but pressure and cold and dark. Their entire existence, hunting, mating, dying, in conditions that would seem like another planet, and yet they persist, generation after generation, perfectly adapted to hell and calling it home, sinking through layers of consciousness, down, into the deep, in the desert, where years pass without rain, where soil cracks and bleeds heat. There are plants that look dead, brown, brittle, crumbling to dust, resurrection plants. They can stay like this for decades, 50 years, 70. Cellular processes stopped, waiting, just waiting. And when rain finally comes, when water touches their desiccated leaves, they unfurl, turning green in hours, chlorophyll flowing again, roots drinking deep. They were never dead, just patient. So patient, heavier, everything heavier. Your body made of warm sand, flowing, settling. The octopus moves through reef shadows. 3 hearts pumping, 2 for the gills, 1 for the body, and all of them pushing blue blood, copper-based blood, through a brain that wraps around its throat. But the brain is only part of the story. Each arm has its own neural cluster, its own mini-brain. The octopus can taste with its skin, change colours it cannot see, solve puzzles, recognize faces, remember, mourn. It squeezes through gaps smaller than its eye. Its only hard part, the beak. Everything else, soft, fluid, intelligent tissue capable of independent thought. 8 minds working as one, or sometimes arguing with themselves, drifting, your thoughts drifting like autumn leaves on still water, circling, settling, dissolving. In Ethiopia, in the Afar region, a volcano has been erupting continuously for over 2 million years. Erta Ale, the smoking mountain, a lava lake that never sleeps, churning, glowing, exposing Earth's molten heart to the stars. Tribes call it the gateway to hell. but extremophile bacteria call it home. They live in the liquid rock, in temperatures that break down most molecules. They eat sulfur, breathe metal vapors. Their existence proves life doesn't need gentle conditions, doesn't need comfort, just possibility, just the thinnest crack of viable chemistry, and life pours through. Thump, thump, your heart barely audible now, a distant drum echoing in caves of sleep. In the Himalayas, in monasteries and mountain meadows, grows a flower that waits. Some flowers bloom once every 12 years, others every 100 years. The bamboo blooms, then dies. All of them together across entire mountain ranges, synchronized. The plants know, somehow, counting years without a brain. And when they bloom, they give everything. One desperate explosion of color, of pollen, of seeds, and then silence, death, just waiting, counting, remembering. The forest floor carpeted in purple, in yellow, in white, for weeks, and then bare stems, for decades, for a century, until the cycle begins again. Your eyelids, impossibly heavy, sealed with warm honey, with soft darkness. The hummingbird hovers, heart beating 1,000 times a minute, wings invisible with speed, and inside that tiny skull, behind those black bead eyes, is a map of every flower, every garden, every feeder it has ever visited. It remembers the location, the time of day, how long ago it drank there, whether the nectar was rich or thin. Its brain, barely larger than a grain of rice, holds territories spanning miles, updated daily, a living GPS of sweetness, of survival calculated in seconds and millimeters, melting into the darkness like sugar into warm water, boundaries dissolving. In Siberia, in permafrost that hasn't thawed in 24,000 years, scientists found them rotifers, budelloid rotifers, microscopic creatures, frozen, still as death. And when the ice melted in the lab, when warmth touched them for the first time since the Ice Age, they woke, they began swimming, eating, reproducing, as if 24 millennia were just a nap, a brief pause. Their cells had vitrified, turned to glass, preserving every structure, every molecule, waiting in crystalline suspension for impossible rescue, for a future they couldn't imagine. And yet, here they are, living ancestors, swimming in modern water, floating. You're floating in warm darkness, supported by nothing, by everything, perfectly balanced. In the Sonoran Desert, at night, cacti bloom, their flowers open to darkness, and they sing, not with sound we can hear, but with shape. The petals curve and fold into parabolic dishes, perfect reflectors of ultrasound. When bats approach, hunting for nectar, their sonar screams bounce back, amplified. A beacon in acoustic space, the bats follow the echo, land on flowers strong enough to hold them, drink deeply, and carry pollen to the next singing blossom. The desert hums with conversations we cannot hear, exchanges older than human language. deeper, drifting deeper, past thought, past image, into pure feeling, pure rest. In caves beneath Mexico, in chambers that never knew light, fish swim blind, their eyes never developed. Why would they? Smooth skin covering the space where eyes should be, and yet they wake and sleep, their bodies following circadian rhythms despite eternal darkness. Their cells remember sunlight their ancestors felt millions of years ago, remember day and night, and continue the cycle, faithfully, in total black, like monks keeping prayer schedules in sealed monasteries, honoring light they have never witnessed. Your breath barely moving, the gentlest tide, in, out, in, automatic, forgotten. In Utah, spreading across mountainsides, is Panda, called the Trembling Giant. It looks like a forest, 47,000 aspen trees, golden leaves shimmering in unison, but it's one organism, one male quaking aspen, connected by a single root system. Each tree is a clone, a stem, sprouting from the vast underground network. The organism weighs 6,000 tons, has lived for 80,000 years. It was here before humans drew in caves, before we learned to farm, before civilization, just trembling, cloning itself, covering hillsides with copies of an original that exists only as memory and roots, sinking through the mattress, through the floor, through Earth, toward the planet's warm core. On Socotra Island, trees grow like mushrooms, dragon blood trees, umbrella-shaped canopies, ancient, alien. When you cut the bark, red sap bleeds out, sticky, bright as arterial blood. The islanders call it dragon's blood, have used it for dye, for medicine, for ceremonies spanning millennia. The trees are dying now, slowly. Climate shifts, but some have stood for 500 years, watching empires rise offshore, watching ships pass, bleeding slowly, drop by red drop, onto rocky soil. Thump, thump, your heart barely there, a whisper in the dark, a secret between moments. In the rainforest, a cordyceps fungus finds an ant. The spores enter through the breathing holes, begin growing, spreading threads through the ant's body, and then the fungus takes control. It commands the ant to leave the colony, to climb a leaf, to bite down on the central vein at just the right height, just the right humidity, and the ant bites and dies, and the fungus erupts from its head, a long stalk pushing through the skull, fruiting body extending, spores raining down to infect more ants below. The ant wasn't killed, it was driven, piloted, turned into transport for something that needed height, needed moisture, needed the perfect launch pad. Dissolving. You're dissolving. Boundaries between self and darkness. Self and silence. Fading. Fading. In the deep ocean, coral reefs glow when touched, when stressed. Fluorescent proteins activate, and the coral lights up. Electric blue, acid green, magenta. It's a sunscreen, protecting symbiotic algae from too much light, or a warning, or communication we don't understand. Entire reefs pulsing with neon conversations. Divers swim through living light shows, forests of antler coral glowing like signs in some underwater city. Some species glow only when dying, a final desperate beauty, a death scream in colour, heavier, impossibly heavy, yet floating, paradox of sleep, of letting go. In Yellowstone, wolves returned after 70 years, and the rivers changed. The wolves hunted elk, and the elk stopped lounging in valleys, stopped overgrazing willows. The willows grew back, their roots stabilizing riverbanks. The rivers narrowed, deepened, carved new paths. Beavers returned to build dams, creating wetlands. Fish populations exploded. Birds returned. Bears found more berries. The entire ecosystem shifted, cascading through trophic levels. All because wolves walked the ridgelines again. Predators don't just kill, they reshape the land itself. They sculpt geography with fear and movement. Your thoughts, like smoke now, curling, dispersing, gone before you can hold them. In the Venus flytrap, in the green jaws lined with trigger hairs, is a counting mechanism. One touch, nothing happens. 2 touches within 20 seconds, and the trap explodes shut, faster than an animal strike, 10 times faster than the blink of an eye. The plant moves with no muscles, no nerves, just hydraulic pressure and cellular memory. Counting touches, calculating risk, deciding when the energy cost of closing is worth the potential meal. A plant doing mathematics. A plant that moves faster than most predators, in a careful, considered, vegetable violence. Melting into warmth, into softness, into the vast forgiving dark. In Antarctica, Adelie penguin's caught. The male waddles across ice, searching for the perfect pebble, smooth, round, the right weight. He picks it up in his beak, carries it to the female he's chosen, and presents it, bowing, offering this tiny stone like a diamond. If she accepts, she places it in their nest, and they're bonded. The pair will return to each other year after year, crossing frozen seas, recognizing each other's calls among thousands, all because of a pebble, a small stone meaning forever. Drifting. You're drifting on dark water, stars reflected beneath you, above you, everywhere. The same. In Tanzania, Lake Natron spreads red and hostile. Alkaline water so caustic it burns skin, so salty that calcification happens almost instantly. Animals that die in the water turn to stone, preserved, calcified, mummified by chemistry. Birds, bats, frozen mid-flight in their death poses. The lake is beautiful, deadly, red algae staining the water crimson. Only one creature thrives here, the lesser flamingo, breeding in millions on caustic shores, protected by water that kills everything else. They've made a fortress of poison, raised families in the toxic shallows, dancing pink against volcanic ash. Thump, thump, barely audible, like footsteps in the next room. Fading, fading, the wood frog freezes. In autumn, when cold comes to Alaska, its heart stops. Blood stops flowing. Ice crystals form in its cells. 65% of its body becomes solid ice. It's not hibernating. It's frozen, dead by any reasonable definition. And yet, when spring warmth returns, when the ice melts from its tissues, the heart stutters, begins beating, blood flows again, the frog blinks, breathes, hops away. Glucose had flooded its cells before freezing, acting as antifreeze for vital organs. The frog orchestrated its own death and resurrection every single year, floating, suspended in honey-thick darkness, time stretching, warping, becoming irrelevant. The mudskipper drags itself onto land, using its fins like crutches, breathing air through its skin, through water stored in its gill chambers. It climbs mangrove roots, territorial, aggressive, fighting other mudskippers for the best mud plots. Males build elaborate burrows, creating swimming pools by spitting water. They court females with dorsal fin displays, leaping, dancing on the border between sea and land. Neither fish nor amphibian, but something in between. Something making the same journey our ancestors made millions of years ago, testing the possibility of air, of sun, of another way to live, sinking through layers of sleep. REM approaching, dreams gathering like clouds on the horizon. The bee orchid blooms, and the flower is obscene. It looks exactly like a female bee, furry abdomen, striped pattern, even the scent, perfect pheromone mimicry. Male bees see it, smell it, dive down in lustful certainty, and attempt to mate with the flower. They thrust, confused, determined, and pollen sticks to their bodies. They fly to the next flower bee, try again, and pollinate in their frustration. The orchid is a liar, a seductress, offering nothing, taking everything, exploiting desire millions of years old. Heavier, so heavy, sinking through the bed, through the foundation, toward the planet's dreaming core. The slime mold spreads, Viscerum polycephalum, a single cell that grew too large, yellow, branching, pulsing slowly across forest floors. It has no brain, no neurons, just cytoplasm and nuclei sharing one membrane. And yet, scientists put it in mazes, food at the exit, and it solves them efficiently, taking the shortest path. They mapped Tokyo's rail system with slime mold, placing food at station locations, and the mold recreated the subway network, optimized it. A brainless organism doing city planning, making decisions, remembering paths, through mechanisms we still don't understand. Your breath, a distant whisper, barely disturbing the silence. In Australia, the malleefowl builds, using its legs, its beak, It creates a mound 6 feet tall, 15 feet across, a massive compost heap of soil and vegetation. The rotting plants generate heat, and the male monitors temperature constantly, adjusting, adding material, removing it, maintaining exactly 93 degrees. The eggs incubate in this thermoregulated incubator. The male works for months, obsessively, checking temperature with his tongue, adjusting architecture, a bird behaving like a thermometer, like an engineer, constructing technology from dirt and intuition, melting, dissolving, your edge is uncertain, merging with darkness, with silence, with peace. The diving bell spider carries the surface below. It weaves a web underwater, between plants, and swims to the surface, trapping air bubbles in leg hairs. It carries the bubbles down, releases them into the web, building an air chamber, a silver bell of atmosphere beneath the water. Inside this bubble, the spider lives, breathes, raises young, occasionally swimming up for fresh air, but existing in its own private atmosphere, a creature that refused to choose between land and water, that engineered a solution, carried its own sky into the depths, drifting. You're drifting between thoughts, each one fading before completion, soft, scattered. The horned lizard faces the coyote, threat too large to fight, too fast to flee. And so, it does something impossible. Blood vessels in its eyes rupture, deliberately. Blood sprays from the corners of its eyes, shooting several feet. The blood tastes foul, filled with compounds from its ant diet. The predator recoils, confused, disgusted, and the lizard escapes. It weaponized its own blood, turned circulatory system into chemical weapon, accepting self-injury to ensure survival. A desperate, brilliant, horrifying defense. Thump, thump, your heart like distant thunder. Storm on the horizon, fading, fading. The cicada emerges after 17 years underground, 17 years in darkness, drinking tree sap, growing, waiting. And then, all at once, millions surface together, synchronized. They climb trees, split their skins, unfold wings, and begin screaming. Mating calls loud enough to damage hearing, filling forest with sound. For weeks they mate, lay eggs, die. Billions of bodies carpeting the forest floor, fertilizing the soil, and the fungus Massospora emerges, infecting some. The fungus eats the cicada's abdomen, replacing it with spores. The cicada keeps flying, keeps trying to mate, even as its body crumbles, even as half of it is fungus, piloting a half-dead host through its final desperate movements, floating, suspended, cradled by darkness, by warmth, by the vast gentle nothing. The squid changes, deep-sea squid with powers beyond camouflage. It can edit its own RNA on the fly, changing genetic instructions outside the nucleus, altering proteins, adapting to temperature, to pressure, to circumstance. Most organisms are locked into their genetic code, blueprint fixed, but squid rewrite themselves, moment to moment, becoming different versions of themselves as needed. It's like having access to your own source code, making real-time adjustments. Evolution happening not across generations, but across minutes. Your eyelids sealed, warm, darkness behind them complete, comfortable, eternal. The humpback whale sings a song that lasts 20 minutes, complex, layered, structured like human music with themes and variations. Males sing during breeding season, and the song changes, evolves. New phrases introduced, old ones dropped. The song spreads across the ocean. Whales thousands of miles apart singing the same tune, learning from each other, creating hits, versions that spread faster, become more popular. The ocean has its own music industry, its own viral trends, songs that rise and fall in cetacean popularity, compositions passing between vast singers in the dark, sinking through the planet, through molten rock, through iron core, emerging on the other side into stars. The bacterium survives. Deinococcus radiodurans. It can withstand radiation levels that would sterilize everything else. Thousands of times the lethal dose for humans. It's been boiled, frozen, dehydrated, exposed to acid, to vacuum, to the inside of nuclear reactors, and it just repairs itself constantly. Its DNA shatters and it puts it back together perfectly, like a jigsaw puzzle completed in hours. Scientists found it growing in cooling ponds of nuclear waste, thriving, surviving on meteorites. It might have come from Mars, or lived through conditions we can't imagine. It's the closest thing we have to indestructible life, heavier, so heavy, yet weightless. Paradox, impossibility, sleep. The corpse flower blooms. Rafflesia arnoldi, biggest flower on earth, 3 feet across, burgundy petals thick as meat, and the smell, rotting flesh, decomposition, death made botanical. Flies arrive in swarms, drawn by the promise of carrion, landing on the flower, crawling inside, searching for the body that must be here, must be somewhere, and they pollinate, deceived, angry, departing covered in pollen to deceive the next flower. The plant invested everything in this lie, this elaborate smell, blooming once, maybe twice, then dying. A brief magnificent deception, drifting, thoughts like distant lights, cities seen from airplanes, incomprehensible, beautiful, fading. The electric eel isn't an eel. It's a fish that weaponized its nervous system. It generates 800 volts, enough to knock a horse unconscious. But the sophistication goes deeper. It can remotely trigger muscle spasms in prey. Like a puppeteer, it sends electric pulses that make fish twitch, revealing their hiding spots. Then it strikes with calculated voltage, stunning, killing. The eel has turned electricity into both sonar and weapon, into communication and defense. Its entire body is a battery, most of its organs compressed into the front 20%, the rest all electric cells, all weapon, melting into the mattress, into the molecules, into the spaces between atoms. Gone. The Hydra doesn't age. This tiny freshwater polyp, tentacles waving, continuously replaces every cell in its body, every few weeks, entirely new. Ship of Theseus made flesh. It can be cut into pieces, and each piece grows a new Hydra. Head removed, it grows another. Each Hydra is simultaneously ancient and brand new, carrying genetic memory millions of years old in cells that are days old. Scientists haven't found a maximum lifespan. They just continue, potentially forever. Biological immortality through constant renewal, through refusing to keep any part long enough for it to wear out. Thump, thump, barely there. Echo of an echo, memory of heartbeat. This sandbox tree drops seeds, but first it builds grenades, seed pods like tiny pumpkins, growing, swelling with pressure, hydraulic force building, and then they explode, loud as gunshots, flinging seeds at 150 miles per hour. Shrapnel flying in all directions, seeds embedding in trees, in soil, in anything nearby. The tree is called Monkey No Climb, covered in toxic spines, filled with poisonous sap, defending itself aggressively. Its seeds escape the parent canopy through violence, through controlled detonation, botanical artillery, floating in the space between thoughts, the gap between breaths, where nothing exists but peace. The Namib fog beetle stands motionless. In the driest desert on Earth, where years pass without rain, it waits for morning, for fog rolling in from the Atlantic. When moisture touches its back, water condenses on hydrophobic bumps, rolls down grooves to its mouth. The beetle drinks from air, from humidity, harvesting drops so small they're barely liquid. This is how it survives. No lakes, no rivers, no rain, just patience and geometry, and fog arriving on schedule every dawn. The beetle has been doing this for millions of years, watching civilizations rise and fall while it sips morning clouds, sinking deeper, past dreams, past REM, toward the core of sleep where nothing exists. The crow remembers your face. Studies show they recognize individual humans, remember who threatened them, who fed them. They gossip, teaching other crows about dangerous humans. The knowledge spreads through populations. Crows you've never met will scold you because their cousin's friend saw you once near a nest. They hold grudges for years, decades potentially. A woman who wore a mask while trapping crows for science is still scolded by their descendants. The mask has become legend, warning passed through generations. The crows remember, and they will never forget. Heavier, your body made of stone, of sand, of water, of nothing. The clownfish changes. In the anemone, in the hierarchy of the small school, the largest is female. Then comes the breeding male, then smaller males. If the female dies, The breeding male transforms. Over weeks, gonads shift, behavior changes, coloration alters. He becomes she. The largest small male becomes breeding male. Everyone moves up. Gender is strategy, is social position, is fluid response to circumstance. The fish carry both sets of potential, activating what's needed, becoming what the group requires. Identity is negotiable, practical, determined by context and survival. Drifting past the edge of consciousness toward the vast, comfortable dark. The mantis shrimp sees. Its eyes contain 16 types of color receptors. Humans have 3. The shrimp sees colors we cannot imagine, cannot describe, colors that don't exist in human experience. Ultraviolet, polarized light, distinctions we lack the hardware to process. And it strikes. Its club-like appendages punch at 50 miles per hour, creating cavitation bubbles. The water itself vaporizes from the speed, creating a second shockwave. The shrimp hits things twice. With the punch and with the bubble collapse, it can shatter aquarium glass, crack crab shells. It's 6 inches of impossible violence, wearing colors we cannot perceive. And deeper still, we drift deeper still into the mysteries that connect everything. The web of life pulsing, breathing, transforming. Thump, thump, your heart settling into the rhythm of deep time, of patient evolution, of change measured in millennia. In the soil beneath your feet, if you could see, there are more organisms than stars in the galaxy. Billions upon billions. Bacteria, fungi, nematodes, all working, all transforming death into life. They take what falls, what dies, and remake it. Carbon cycling through their bodies, nitrogen fixed, minerals released. The soil is alive. The soil is an organ, the planet's digestive system, processing, converting, and we walk on it, never knowing, never feeling the vast civilization beneath each step. Heavier, heavier, your body sinking deeper into the mattress, becoming part of it, boundaries softening. The mycorrhizal networks extend, not just between trees, but between species, across kingdoms. The fungi connect to plant roots, the partnership ancient, older than flowers, older than leaves. The fungus provides minerals, phosphorus, nitrogen, water from far away, and the plant provides sugar, photosynthesized sunlight, converted, shared. Neither could thrive alone, not in poor soil, not in competition, but together they transformed the planet, made forests possible, made grasslands, made the green world we know. 2 kingdoms holding hands beneath the ground, melting into warmth, into darkness, every muscle releasing its grip on wakefulness. In the deep ocean, near volcanic vents, where superheated water erupts from Earth's mantle, where chemistry becomes violence, life clusters, tube worms, 8 feet long, red plumes waving, no mouth, no gut, no way to eat, but inside their bodies, bacteria. The bacteria eat sulfur, process chemicals that would poison us, and feed the worm. The worm is a vessel, a home, and the bacteria are farmers tending their host, keeping it alive. It's a partnership so complete that neither is truly individual anymore. They're one organism, two genomes, one life, drifting, your thoughts drifting apart, dissolving like sugar in water, sweet, slow, gone. The lichen on the rock looks simple, but it's three organisms, a fungus, an alga, and often a bacterium, living as one. The fungus provides structure, holds water. The alga photosynthesizes, creates food. The bacterium fixes nitrogen from air. Three kingdoms cooperating. They colonize bare rock, begin the long process of making soil, breaking stone through acid, through expansion, through patient chemical erosion. They survive Antarctica, survive deserts. Some are 4,000 years old, growing slower than fingernails, but growing, always growing, preparing the world for what comes next, sinking through layers of awareness, down past conscious thought, toward the dreaming depths. In your gut, right now, are trillions of bacteria, more bacterial cells than human cells in your body. They digest what you cannot, produce vitamins you need, train your immune system, communicate with your brain, releasing neurotransmitters, affecting mood, affecting thought. You're not one organism, you're an ecosystem, a walking forest, a mobile coral reef of species, all cooperating, competing, communicating. You've never been alone, never been singular. Every human is a we, is a civilization, is a planet. Thump, thump, your heartbeat fading, becoming distant, like drums in another room, another house, another world. The fig tree and the fig wasp, one cannot exist without the other. The wasp is born inside a fig, crawls out, flies to another tree, another fig, squeezes inside through a tiny opening, so tight she loses her wings, her antennae. She's trapped now. She pollinates the flowers inside, lays her eggs, days, her body absorbed, her children hatch, mate. The males die inside, never seeing sky. The females crawl out, wings intact, fly to continue the cycle. Every fig contains a wasp, or the ghost of one. Every fig tree depends on this sacrifice, this ancient contract written in genes and behavior. Neither partner can break it, neither can survive alone. Floating, suspended in the warm dark, like floating in amniotic fluid, safe, contained, dissolving. The acacia tree in Africa has hollow thorns, and ants live inside. Acacia ants. The tree provides shelter, provides nectar, special protein nodules the ants eat, and the ants patrol, attack anything that touches the tree. Herbivores, other insects. They even trim vegetation around the base, keeping competitors away. The tree-bred warriors, the ants domesticated a fortress, and both flourish. The undefended acacias get eaten. The homeless ants starve. But together, they thrive, protected, fed, a castle with soldiers. an army with a home, heavier, impossibly heavy, yet somehow lighter, as if weight and weightlessness are the same, as if contradictions resolve in sleep. In the coral reef, every relationship is entangled. The coral itself is animal and plant, polyp and zooxanthelle. The algae photosynthesize, feed the coral. The coral provides home, access to light. Clownfish live in anemones, immune to stings that kill others. They clean the anemone, provide nutrients from their waste, drive away predators. The anemone provides protection. The reef is built from cooperation, from symbiosis stacked on symbiosis. A city of mutual dependence, where independence means death, where partnership means survival, melting, every cell relaxing, every synapse quieting, the brain waves slowing, delta approaching. The remora fish rides the shark, sucker disc on its head, attached. The shark swims and the remora rides, eating parasites from shark skin, eating scraps from shark meals. The shark is cleaned, is healthy. The remora is transported, is fed. Neither planned this, neither chose this. Evolution found the fit, found the matching shapes, and now they're paired. The shark rarely alone, the remora rarely swimming free, just together, moving through ancient seas in ancient partnership, drifting past the boundary between awake and asleep, that thin membrane, that invisible threshold, crossed without noticing. The oxpecker bird lands on the buffalo, walks across its back, picking ticks, eating parasites, warning of predators with alarm calls. The buffalo is groomed, protected. The bird is fed, has a mobile feeding station in Africa, across savannas. This scene repeats. Buffalo and bird, rhino and bird, giraffe and bird. The pattern is ancient, the agreement unspoken but absolute. Both benefit, both survive because the other survives. Cooperation emerging from hunger, from need, from the mathematics of mutual advantage. Sinking down through the bed, through the floor, through the building, through bedrock, light toward the warm center, the flowering plants and the bees. 100 million years of partnership. The flowers evolved color, scent, nectar guides, landing platforms perfect for bee weight. The bees evolved pollen baskets, fuzzy bodies, color vision, navigation, memory. The flowers compete for bee attention. The bees choose flowers for reward, but neither could abandon the other now. Most plants need pollinators. Most bees need flowers. They're locked together. Evolution's handshake, sealed with pollen and nectar, binding species across kingdoms, across millions of years. Thump, thump, your heart barely audible, a whisper, a suggestion of rhythm. Life maintaining itself while consciousness fades. In the termite mound, in the vast clay cathedral rising from African soil, lives a civilization. Millions of termites, blind, pale, and in their guts, protists, single-celled organisms with flagella. The termites eat wood, cellulose, but cannot digest it. The protists can. They break down cellulose, feed themselves, feed the termite. The termite is a vehicle, a mobile home. The protist is an organ, an external stomach, and together they eat the forest, transform wood to soil, recycle carbon. Neither could eat wood alone. Together they consume trees, floating in the space between thoughts, between breaths, where time becomes optional, where self becomes negotiable. The cleaner wrasse swims its rounds, small fish, striped, setting up cleaning stations on the reef. Other fish line up, predators, groupers that could swallow the wrasse whole. But they don't. They open their mouths, spread their gills, let the wrasse inside. The wrasse eats parasites, dead skin. The predator is cleaned, is healthy, and the wrasse is safe, is fed. The predators wait in line, patient. The rules are clear. No eating at the cleaning station. Trust established through repetition, through mutual need. Even enemies cooperate when the benefit is clear enough. Heavier, so heavy. Your body made of lead, of stone, of collapsed stars, of the weight of sleep itself. The fungus growing ants discovered agriculture. 50 million years before humans. They cut leaves, but don't eat them. They chew them to mulch, fertilize fungus gardens. The fungus they grow exists nowhere else, domesticated so long it cannot survive wild. The ants tend it, protect it, harvest it, and in turn, the fungus feeds millions, feeds the colony, feeds the queen. The partnership is so old, so established, that separation is impossible. The ants are farmers, the fungus is crop, and both are prisoners of success, of specialization so complete it becomes dependence, becomes one extended organism, melting, dissolving, your edges uncertain. Where do you end and the darkness begin? Does it matter? Does anything? The squid and the bioluminescent bacteria. Bobtail squid, Hawaiian, small. At night it hunts, and on its underside, in a special organ, bacteria glow. The glow matches moonlight, erases the squid's shadow, makes it invisible to predators below. The squid provides home, provides food. The bacteria provide camouflage, provide survival. Each morning, the squid expels most bacteria, keeps a small culture. By evening, they've regrown, ready for another night. The squid is not one animal. It's a partnership, a conspiracy of light, drifting like dust motes in slanted light, like pollen on spring wind, purposeless, patient, peaceful. In every ecosystem, predator and prey are dancing. The cheetah runs faster. The gazelle evolves to run faster still. The cheetah evolves again. Arms race measured in millennia, in tiny increments. Both species sculpting each other. The predator makes the prey strong. The prey makes the predator efficient. Neither can stop, neither can rest. But together, they maintain balance. They create stability through endless competition, through evolutionary pressure that never releases. The dance continues, has continued for hundreds of millions of years will continue long after we're gone, sinking through the last layers of waking toward the core of sleep, where dreams begin, where consciousness transforms. The monarch butterfly migrates, but no single butterfly completes the journey. It takes 4 generations. The great-great-grandchildren arrive where their ancestors departed. They've never been there, never seen it, but they know the way. The route is written in genes, in magnetic sensitivity, in sun position, in molecular memory. The butterfly is individual, but also part of a meta-organism, a distributed intelligence, a relay race run across generations, where memory is inherited, where the map is in the blood. Thump, thump, almost imperceptible now. Your heart like distant thunder, like footsteps fading down a long hallway. The wolves and the ravens in Yellowstone, in the north, they hunt together. The ravens spot prey from above, call to wolves, lead them to herds. The wolves make the kill, the ravens wait, then feed on the remains. The wolves learn to follow raven calls. The ravens learn wolf hunting patterns. Neither species is the same anymore. Both adapted to the other, changed by the partnership. Intelligence recognizing intelligence across species. Cooperation emerging not from similarity, but from complementary abilities. From what each can offer the other, floating in the vast dark, in the warm nothing, supported by shadows, by silence, by the gentle gravity of sleep pulling you down, down into rest. The human and the dog. 30,000 years of partnership. We changed them, made them smaller, friendlier, loyal. They changed us, made us more social, more cooperative, more capable. We hunted together, guarded together, survived ice ages together. Neither species would be what it is without the other. The dog is not wild wolf. We are not solitary apes. We're paired species, co-evolved, bound by millennia of shared fires, shared hunts, shared evolution. Looking into a dog's eyes, they look back and both recognize, both remember the ancient contract, still honored, still binding, heavier, impossibly heavy, yet dissolving. The paradox of sleep, of letting go, of surrendering to the vast patient dark. And all of this, all of these partnership, these entanglement, these dependencies, they tell us what life is. Life is not individuals, not separate, not alone. Life is connections, is relationships, is the space between organisms where exchange happens, where molecules pass, where information flows, where cooperation emerges. We are all nodes in networks, all threads in webs, all words in conversations that started before language, before consciousness. Conversations written in chemistry, in behavior, in the patient negotiation of survival. Your breath, barely moving now, the gentlest tide, in, out, automatic, forgotten. The body breathing itself while the mind drift away. And you are part of this vast web, this planetary cooperation. Bacteria in your gut, mites on your eyelashes, viruses in your blood that protect rather than harm. You're an ecosystem, a walking world, connected to every other ecosystem, every other world, through air you breathe, water you drink, food you eat, all connected, all one. The boundaries are illusions, convenient fictions. In truth, there is only the web, only the connection, only the vast breathing living pattern that includes everything, includes you, has always included you, will always include you, melting into the darkness, into the web, into the pattern, becoming part of something larger, something ancient, something that knows how to sleep, how to rest, how to let go. Thump, thump, your heart barely there, but still there, still beating, still participating in the vast rhythm, the planetary pulse, the universal breath that includes every heart, every organism, every partnership, every symbiosis, every cooperation, every connection, all beating together, all breathing together, all drifting together, through the mysteries, through the night, through the endless patient dark, and will keep drifting, floating together, through these connections, these partnerships, these ancient bonds that show us what we are, what life is, not separate, not alone, but joined, always joined, in the vast living network, the planetary organism, the web of all life, breathing, pulsing, regenerating, together, always together. Thump, thump, your heart barely whispering, almost gone, almost silent. The planarian worm is cut in half, and both halves grow. The head grows a tail, the tail grows a head. Cut it into 10 pieces, 10 new worms emerge. Each one remembers. Scientists trained planarians to find food, then cut them up. The regenerated worms remembered their training. Memory stored not just in brain, but distributed through body, in cells we don't understand. The worms are immortal through division, ancient through constant birth. Each piece is original and copy simultaneously. The line between individual and clone dissolved in regenerative tissue, melting, boundaries dissolving between self and not self, between awake and asleep. Gone, gone. The emperor penguin walks 70 miles across Antarctic ice to breeding grounds used for millennia, finds last year's mate among thousands, recognizing voice, specific call learned and remembered. They reunite, breed. The female lays one egg, transfers it to the male, and walks away, back to the sea. The male balances the egg on his feet, covered by belly fold, for 2 months, in 100-mile-per-hour winds, in temperatures that drop to -80. He doesn't eat, doesn't move, just stands, protecting, waiting, losing half his body weight. And when the chick hatches, when the female returns, they switch. The penguin travels 8,000 kilometers every year, completing this pilgrimage, this ancient obligation, this journey for the sake of one small egg, floating in infinite darkness, supported by nothing, needing nothing, complete, The mushroom creates wind, the giant puffball, when mature, filled with trillions of spores, creates its own microclimate. Heat from respiration rises, creating air currents, updrafts that carry spores high, far. The mushroom engineers its own dispersal mechanism, using thermodynamics, using physics. A fruit that manipulates atmosphere, that creates weather on mushroom scale. Spores drift for miles, continents, carried by winds the mushroom itself initiated, by currents it summoned from decay. Your breath, almost still, the gentlest movement, like leaves settling on still water. The salamander repairs everything. Cut off a leg, over weeks. Cells at the wound site dedifferentiate, become stem cells, then specialize again, building bone, nerve, muscle, blood vessels, in perfect arrangement. The salamander doesn't scar, doesn't approximate. It rebuilds exactly, even the spinal cord, even brain tissue. The secret is in the cellular memory, the blueprint somehow preserved, accessible, executable. Humans have lost this ability, locked into our final forms, but salamanders remain perpetually revisable, forever draft, never final, sinking through the last layers, toward absolute rest, toward silence complete. The leafcutter ants march, carrying leaf pieces like sails, green flags in brown columns, but they don't eat the leaves. They're farming, underground chambers, millions of ants, tending gardens of fungus. They chew leaves into mulch, fertilize the fungus, harvest it. The fungus grows nowhere else in nature, domesticated millions of years before humans domesticated anything. The ants cultivate, rotate crops, dispose of infected material, their agricultural civilization, complete with waste management, crop protection, selective breeding of fungal strains, and they herd aphids on roots, protecting them from predators, harvesting their honeydew. The ants are ranchers and farmers, subterranean agriculturalists with cities housing millions. Heavier, impossibly heavy, yet dissolving. Paradox of sleep, of surrender. The pufferfish inflates, threatened. It gulps water, fills elastic stomach, balloons into a sphere 3 times normal size. Spines that lay flat stand erect. Toxic, covered in tetrodotoxin, one of the deadliest poisons known. A predator that bites dies, paralyzed. The poison shutting down neural transmission. And yet, humans eat it, carefully prepared. The chef trained for years to remove every trace of poison. People pay fortunes to flirt with death, to taste the fish that inflates with terror, that weaponized its own body into a sphere of spines and poison, drifting, thoughts like soap bubbles, iridescent, fragile, popping silently, gone. The parrot uses tools. The New Caledonian crow gets attention, but parrots, cockatoos specifically, fashion sticks, shape them, use different tools for different tasks. They strip bark, adjust length, create hooks, and they teach their young deliberate instruction, parent demonstrating, chick watching, practicing, failing, improving. Tool use passed culturally, not genetically. Each generation learning from the last, building on knowledge. Avian technology, avian education, consciousness we're only beginning to measure, melting into warmth, into the soft pulse of existence. Barely there, barely anything. The bunchgrass catapults. Pollen needs to travel. The flower builds tension, hydraulic pressure in cells, and releases 600 miles per hour, faster than sound in some air conditions. The pollen launches like projectiles, microscopic bullets carrying genes. The fastest movement in the plant kingdom, a botanical railgun, a flower that decided wind wasn't enough, that needed violence, needed speed, needed to throw genetic material like artillery shells across meadows. Thump, thump, heartbeat fading, becoming background, becoming memory, inside the volcano at 250 degrees Fahrenheit, in water, acidic enough to burn. Microbes thrive. Thermophiles, hyperthermophiles, they love heat, require it. In Yellowstone hot springs, in geothermal vents, in conditions that denature proteins, they flourish. Their enzymes are stable at temperatures that would cook most life. Scientists isolated these enzymes, used them for PCR, for DNA replication. Every medical test, every genetic analysis relies on proteins from organisms that live in boiling acid. Evolution stored solutions in extreme places, waiting for us to find them, to need them, floating, suspended in honey, in amber, in the slow, golden nothing between thoughts. The paradise tree snake flies, sort of. It climbs high, launches into air, flattens its body, ribs spreading, creating a wing shape, an airfoil. It undulates, S-curves rippling through airborne body, gliding 40 meters, steering, adjusting, landing on target branches. A snake that refused to accept gravity, that found a loophole. That turned cylindrical body into aerodynamic surface through pure determination and evolutionary time. Flying without wings, without feathers, without anything but physics. Sinking deeper, past the place where dreams form, toward the silent core. The sea turtle navigates, hatchling on beach, days old, crawls to ocean, and then, decades later, mature, ready to breed, it returns to the exact beach where it hatched, across entire oceans, thousands of miles, using Earth's magnetic field, magnetite crystals in its brain, acting as compass, as map. The turtle can sense magnetic intensity, inclination, distinguish positions within meters. It carries GPS older than satellites, inherited from ancestors who crossed prehistoric seas. Following invisible lines humans needed technology to detect. Heavier, so heavy, your body sinking through the bed, through floor, through foundation, toward magma, toward core. The caterpillar calls for help, specific vibrations, drumming signals through leaves, and ants come, recruited, summoned by sounds they cannot resist. They patrol the leaf, attack anything that threatens the caterpillar, wasps, other ants, predators. The caterpillar pays them. Special secretions from glands, sugary, addictive. The ants guard their charge, aggressive, devoted. A larva that domesticated warriors, that learned to broadcast distress, to communicate across species, to hire bodyguards with chemistry and sound, drifting like pollen on still air, like spores in darkness, purposeless, peaceful. The crystal jellyfish glows when hurt, Aquaria Victoria, when disturbed, when compressed, when screaming in its silent way. It flashes blue-green, bioluminescence from a protein, green fluorescent protein, GFP. Scientists isolated it and changed biology forever. Now we tag proteins, track cells, watch cancer spread, watch neurons fire, watch life happening in real time. The jellyfish gave us vision. Its scream became a tool, became medicine, became Nobel Prizes and countless lives saved. A creature that glows when hurt became the lantern illuminating microscopic worlds. Your breath, a whisper, a rumor of movement, barely disturbing the silence. The moss survives centuries. Tortula ruralis. It can lose 98% of its water, become brittle, brown, seemingly dead, and stay that way for 400 years, maybe longer. No metabolism, no processes, just structure preserved. And when water returns, when rain touches desiccated leaves after centuries, within hours, photosynthesis restarts. Growth resumes, as if 400 years were 4 hours. The moss doesn't track time, doesn't age without water. It simply waits, patient beyond comprehension, beyond any animal understanding of patience, melting, dissolving, the boundaries between you and the darkness, uncertain, fading. The barn owl flies in perfect silence, hunting at night. It makes no sound. Specialized feathers, serrated leading edge breaking up turbulence, soft trailing edge absorbing sound. The owl is stealth technology, is acoustic invisibility. Prey hear nothing until talons strike, until death arrives in perfect quiet. The owl sacrificed speed for silence, traded velocity for surprise, and it works, has worked for millions of years. Silent death drifting through moonlight, through shadow, hearing everything, heard by nothing, sinking through the last resistance, through the final tension, into complete release. The virus hijacks minds, a hairworm parasite infecting grasshoppers, growing inside them, and then, when mature, it releases chemicals, neurological hijacking. The grasshopper becomes confused, seeks water, drawn by irresistible compulsion. It jumps into streams, into ponds, drowns itself. And the worm emerges, wriggling free from the corpse, ready to reproduce in water. The parasite didn't just kill, it reprogrammed, turned terrestrial insect into aquatic suicide. the grasshopper's final act, compelled by something that rewrote its deepest instincts. Thump, thump, your heart barely there, echo fading into vast quiet. The Darwin's frog carries his children, Rhinoderma darwini. After the female lays eggs, the male guards them, and when they begin to hatch, he swallows them, not to eat, to protect. The tadpoles develop in his vocal sac, in his throat. He doesn't eat for weeks, carries his children in the space he uses to call for mates. They develop, grow, metamorphose, and when they're ready, tiny froglets, he opens his mouth and his children hop out, born from throat, from voice box, from the chamber of song, the father birthing through his scream, floating in the space between heartbeats, in the pause between breaths, where time stops. The nectar bat flies through rainforest darkness, and flowers wait, night blooming, big, sturdy enough to hold a hovering bat. The bat drinks, face covered in pollen, and flies onward, pollinating entire forests. One bat can visit hundreds of flowers, carrying genetic material miles, connecting populations. Without bats, rainforests would collapse. The trees know this, evolved for this, shaped their flowers to match bat faces, matched their blooming to bat hunger. Co-evolution so complete that neither can exist without the other. The ant doesn't know it's essential, just knows flowers, just knows hunger, just knows the sweetness waiting in the dark, heavier, impossibly heavy, yet weightless. The paradox complete, sleep approaching. The mantis shrimp carries clubs, stomatopods with hammers, calcified fists on modified legs. They smash, cracking mollusk shells, breaking crab carapaces. The strike so fast water vaporizes, cavitation bubbles forming, collapsing, creating shock waves. The shrimp hits you twice, once with the club, once with the bubble burst. It can shatter aquarium glass, hospitalize careless aquarists. 6 inches of rage, of hunger, of violence compressed into chitin and muscle and speed approaching ballistic, drifting past the edge, past the boundary, into sleep proper, deep sleep, healing sleep. The sensitive plant folds when touched. Mimosa pudica, touch a leaf and it collapses, drooping, motor cells releasing ions, changing pressure, the whole leaf falling within seconds, then slowly, over minutes, rising again. Reset. The plant isn't hurt, just defensive. Touch equals threat. And the response is dramatic, is visible, is plant behavior that seems almost conscious. The mechanism is hydraulic, chemical, but it looks like fear, like flinching. The plant responds to stimulus faster than most animals, proving that movement, reaction, doesn't require nerves, doesn't require brains, just chemistry, just pressure released at the right moment, melting into the mattress, into the molecules, becoming indistinguishable from darkness. The army ants build bridges from themselves, When they encounter gaps, rivers, cliffs, they link legs, form living architecture, ants gripping ants, creating spans. The bridge stays as long as needed, supporting traffic, then dissolves. They calculate, somehow, weight of traffic, distance to span, cost versus benefit. The bridge is always optimal, always the minimum number of ants sacrificed to structure. The colony makes decisions, processes information. No ant knows the plan, but the plan emerges from simple rules, from pheromones, from touch. Intelligence without brain, mathematics without numbers, engineering without blueprints. Thump, thump, barely perceptible, like distant thunder. Storm beyond the horizon, fading. The Jesus Christ lizard runs on water, basilisk lizard. When threatened, it doesn't swim, it runs. Across the water surface, slapping feet creating air pockets, moving so fast it doesn't sink. The lizard can run 15 feet, more if young and light, defying density, defying physics, just through speed, through desperation, through absolutely refusing to drown. And when momentum fails, it swims the rest. But those first seconds, those impossible steps on liquid, earned it a divine nickname. Lizard that walks where only God should, floating in perfect darkness, perfect silence, perfect peace. The bombardier beetle sprays fire from its abdomen, boiling liquid, 100 degrees Celsius, a mixture of hydrogen peroxide and hydroquinone, combined in reaction chamber, catalyzed by enzymes, exploding. The beetle aims, can direct spray precisely at approaching threats. It's carrying chemistry, carrying explosives, using exothermic reactions as weapons. The spray burns, blinds, sends predators fleeing, and the beetle walks away, intact, having survived detonating chemical weapons inside its own body, having made peace with controlled explosions, sinking deeper than thought, deeper than image, pure sensation fading, fading. The Antarctic ice fish has transparent blood, in water cold enough to freeze, except its blood doesn't freeze. It produces antifreeze proteins, glycoproteins binding to ice crystals, preventing growth, and its blood is clear, no hemoglobin, no red blood cells. It absorbs oxygen directly through skin. The fish is pale, ghostly, adapted so completely to cold that warm water would kill it. It cannot exist anywhere else. Specialized into a corner of existence most life abandoned, and thriving there. Proof that extreme works, if conditions stay stable, heavier, your body made of lead, of stone, of quantum foam, of nothing. The flatworm remembers, even when beheaded. Scientists trained them, then cut off their heads. The bodies regrew heads, and those new brains remembered. They retained training, memory stored in body, not just brain. Scientists fed trained worms to untrained worms, and the cannibals learned faster. Knowledge transferred through consumption, written into tissue we don't understand. Memory is everywhere, apparently distributed, encoded in ways we haven't decoded. Drifting, like seeds on wind, like thoughts at dawn. Disappearing, gentle, gone. The water spider descends with sky, Argyroneta aquatica, carrying air bubbles, constructing underwater bells. Staying under for months, the bell acts as gill, extracting oxygen from water, releasing carbon dioxide. The spider breathes underwater, using physics, using surface tension. It hunts, mates, lives its entire life submerged. A spider that chose water, that engineered breathing apparatus from silken bubbles that refused to be limited by being arachnid, melting, boundaries dissolving, self becoming porous, becoming optional, becoming forgotten. The cicada fungus controls precisely Ophiocordyceps, infecting carpenter ants, taking over motor control. The ant climbs, always north-northwest, to 25 centimeters height, finds a leaf, major vein, bites down at solar noon, exactly, and dies. The fungus grows, stalk emerging from head. The fungus knows, somehow, height, direction, time. The ant is piloted with GPS precision, driven to the perfect launch pad, consciousness hijacked for spore dispersal. Thump, thump, your heartbeat almost memory, almost imagination, barely real. The Humboldt squid hunts in packs, flashing colours, reds, whites, communication through chromatophores, synchronized. They surround prey, drive fish into killing zones, coordinate attacks, like wolves, but they're mollusks. They're solitary by nature. But hunger brought cooperation, brought communication. Strategies passed through observation. Young squid learning from old. And at night, the ocean flashes, red and white conversations, plans made in colour, in the language of skin, floating in the space between thoughts, between seconds, where nothing exists but rest. The sequoia survives through fire. Fire sweeps through, bark chars, trees torch, and the sequoia lives, thick bark, fire resistant, but more. The heat opens cones, releases seeds, fire clears undergrowth, exposes mineral soil, perfect germination. The tree needs fire, requires it. Baby sequoias grow in ash, in clearings fire created. Some cones stay closed for decades, waiting, just waiting for fire, for heat to trigger release, patience and partnership with disaster, sinking through the mattress, through bedrock, toward the mantle, slow, warm, eternal. The mudskipper evolves before our eyes, using fins like crutches, dragging body across mud, breathing through skin, fighting for territory, building burrows. The fish is leaving the ocean, generation by generation, testing land, finding it viable in millions of years. Its descendants might have lungs, might have legs. The mudskipper is evolution in action. Is the fish becoming amphibian? We're watching the invasion of land happening again, in mudflats and mangrove swamps, drifting past the boundary of sleep into dreams where memories sort, where the day dissolves. The fungus digests plastic, Pestilla topora microspora, found in Amazon rainforests, degrading polyurethane, breaking molecular bonds designed not to break. The fungus doesn't care about design, just food, just hydrocarbons. It evolved for millions of years and adapted to human pollution in decades. We create immortal trash, and life finds a way. The fungus's hope is the planet shrugging, adjusting, continuing, melting into the darkness, every muscle forgotten, every thought scattered. The sensitive plant sleeps every night, without touch. The leaves fold, closing for sleep, and at dawn they open. The plant has circadian rhythm, internal clock, even in constant light. The pattern continues. The plant knows time, keeps schedule, without brain, without eyes, without anything but chemistry, but cellular memory spanning millions of years. Thump, thump, your heart whisper quiet, almost silent, the body maintaining while consciousness fades. The glass frog's transparency is engineered. Its bones are green, tinted, scattering light, its organs covered with reflective tissue, guanine crystals. The frog isn't truly transparent, it's carefully designed to confuse edges, to blend, background visible through body. The frog is half ghost, half real, a heartbeat behind glass, watching with golden eyes while the world looks through, never quite focusing, sinking toward delta sleep, toward deepest rest, where healing happens, where the body rebuilds, sinking toward delta sleep, toward deepest rest, where healing happens, where the body rebuilds. The Cuvier's beaked whale holds breath for hours, diving 2 miles down, 3, staying under. The record is 3 hours 42 minutes, no breathing. Heart rate drops to 3 beats per minute, blood diverted to brain, to heart. The rest waits, muscle cells switching to anaerobic. The whale surfaces, breathes, and dives again, into darkness, into pressure. The whale carries its own air, deep into places we can only visit in submarines. Heavier, so heavy, yet dissolving, sleep embracing you. The alpine pennycress cleans poison, growing in soil contaminated with heavy metals, zinc, cadmium, nickel, concentrations that kill other plants, but pennycress thrives, absorbs the metals, stores them in leaves. The plant is a filter, growing in Superfund sites, in mine tailings, cleaning soil through growth, through harvest. It grows where nothing else can, on humanity's scars, green fingers reaching through contaminated soil, persistent, hopeful, drifting, like autumn leaves on a pond, circling slowly, sinking, gentle. The American dipper sings underwater, standing in mountain streams, submerging its head, singing to its mate, The song travels through water, distorted, strange, but recognizable. The bird adapted, changed frequency, to communicate in a medium birds shouldn't use. It walks underwater, hunting, using wings to swim. The bird refused barriers, refused categories. It exists between, in transitions, in places where one thing becomes another, melting, every boundary soft. You're not sure where your body ends, where the bed begins. Baby spiders balloon across continents, spiderlings, climbing to high points, releasing silk, long strands catching wind and lifting off, flying on silk, crossing oceans, landing thousands of miles away. Darwin saw them landing on the Beagle, miles from shore. The spiders are always traveling, always arriving, parachuting through atmosphere. Some die, but enough survive. The species spreads, on silk wings, on faith in wind. Thump, thump, barely there. Your heartbeat almost forgotten, body on autopilot. The Chernobyl fungus eats radiation, growing inside the reactor, on reactor walls, in the most radioactive place on Earth. The fungus thrives, uses melanin, radiosynthesis, converting radiation to chemical energy. Like plants use light, the fungus eats gamma rays, grows toward radiation. The disaster is its sun. Scientists consider it for Mars, for space voyages. The fungus that turns poison into food, that proves life finds a way, even in places designed to prevent it, floating in honey-thick darkness, warm, safe. Nothing can reach you here. The periodical cicadas emerge in prime numbers, 13 years, 17 years, never 12, never 15. The mathematics protect them. Predator populations can't sink. The cicadas emerge in overwhelming numbers, more than anything can eat. And then, silence for years. The nymphs underground, counting, somehow counting and emerging together, precisely. The numbers are defense, prime cycles are shields, mathematics become survival, sinking through the last layer toward slow wave sleep, where time stops meaning anything. And the octopus dreams in color? Studies suggest patterns flickering across skin during sleep, like REM. Maybe the octopus is dreaming, hunting, hiding, reliving the day. 3 hearts beating differently, blue blood pulsing, each arm perhaps dreaming its own dreams. 8 semi-independent minds. Maybe they don't agree. Maybe dreams are negotiated. The octopus might be committee. 8 voices reaching consensus. Alien consciousness processing alien experience in ways we might never understand. And the earth continues turning, spinning through darkness, life clinging to its surface, in every extreme, in every niche, in places that seem impossible. Life adapts, life persists, life finds ways we haven't imagined, won't imagine, can't imagine. And all of life continues its ancient patterns. The forest frozen beneath Antarctic ice still holds the memory of green, of photosynthesis, of leaves that rustled in winds millions of years gone. waiting in cellular suspension, and the jellyfish drifts, turritopsis, dissolving back to youth, cells reverting, time flowing backward in its translucent bell, refusing the finality that claims everything else. Thump, thump, your heart settling into the rhythm of deep time. The bioluminescent fungi paint Brazilian nights in cold green light, in electric blue, valleys transformed into living galaxies, and the Greenland shark, 400 years old, 500 perhaps, drifts through Arctic darkness, older than nations, older than most trees, swimming slowly through centuries we cannot comprehend. Heavier, heavier, your body sinking into the mattress, into the earth, into time itself. Underground networks pulse with chemical messages, trees communicating through fungal threads, mother trees feeding saplings, warnings spreading through roots about dangers above. The forest thinks collectively, slowly, in languages of sugar and survival, and the glass frog's heart beats visible, red muscle pumping behind transparent skin, every organ on display, the frog both hidden and completely revealed, melting, dissolving into the darkness, boundaries becoming uncertain, optional. Tardigrades drift in space's vacuum, dried, dormant, waiting decades for water that may never come. And the axolotl regenerates what should be permanent loss: brain tissue, spinal cord, limbs. The damage is temporary, death negotiable, the blueprint always accessible, always ready to rebuild, drifting past conscious thought toward the dreaming depths, in ocean trenches where pressure crushes, where darkness is absolute. Creatures glow, communicate in bioluminescence, hunt without eyes, thrive in conditions that seem impossible, and the resurrection plant waits, brown, brittle, decades without water. But when rain finally comes, green returns in hours, life flooding back, the pause ending, the breath released, sinking through layers of sleep, each one quieter, deeper. The octopus dreams, perhaps colours flickering across its skin while it sleeps, 3 hearts pumping blue blood, 8 arms each thinking semi-independently, a distributed consciousness we're only beginning to understand. And in Ethiopian calderas, Erta al churns, lava lake that hasn't cooled in 2 million years, and in that inferno, bacteria thrive, eating sulfur, breathing metal vapor, calling hell home, floating, suspended, cradled by the warm, patient darkness. Some flowers bloom once in a lifetime, once in a century, waiting, counting years through mechanisms we don't understand. And the hummingbird remembers every flower, every garden, every quality of nectar, its tiny brain holding maps spanning miles, updated daily, survival calculated in milliseconds, your breath barely moving, the gentlest tide, automatic, forgotten. Rotifers frozen for 24,000 years, and when ice melted, they woke, they swam, they lived, as if the ice age were a brief nap, and desert cacti bloom at night with flowers shaped to reflect bat sonar, singing in ultrasound, calling pollinators through acoustic space we cannot hear, heavier, impossibly heavy, yet somehow weightless, the paradox of letting go. Blind cave fish follow circadian rhythms in eternal darkness, cells remembering sunlight their ancestors felt millions of years ago, honoring day and night that exist only in genetic memory. And across Utah mountains, Pando spreads, 47,000 aspen stems, but one organism, one root system, 80,000 years old, trembling as one, golden, vast, ancient, melting into warmth, into silence, into the space between heartbeats. Dragon blood trees on Socotra bleed red sap when cut, bright as arterial blood. And in rainforests, cordyceps controls ants, fungi spreading through their brains, commanding them to climb, to bite, to die at precisely the right height, the right humidity, turning insects into spore platforms. Thump, thump, barely there. Your heart a distant whisper. Coral glows fluorescent blue, electric green, when stressed, when dying, screaming in colors we're only learning to understand, and wolves returned to Yellowstone, and rivers changed. Elk fled valleys, willows regrew, banks stabilized, water carved new paths, predators reshaping geography just by existing, drifting past the edge, past the boundary, into sleep itself. Venus flytraps count to 2. 1 trigger, nothing. 2 triggers, snap. The plant doing mathematics without neurons, moving faster than most animals strike, and on Antarctic ice, penguins caught with pebbles, smooth stones meaning forever, meaning return year after year, promises made in rock, floating in the space between thoughts, where nothing matters, nothing hurts. Lake Natron turns flesh to stone, alkaline water so caustic that death brings calcification, preservation, mummification by chemistry, and wood frogs freeze solid in Alaska winters, hearts stopping, ice forming in cells, dead by any measure, until spring warmth, until resurrection, until the impossible return to life, sinking through the last layers toward absolute rest. Mud skippers test land, walking on fins, breathing air, evolution visible, repeating the ancient journey from sea to shore, and bee orchids seduce with lies, flowers shaped like female bees, scented like them, males pollinating in their confusion, in their desire, heavier, your body made of stone, of sleep, of the weight of ages. Slime molds solve mazes, navigate cities, remember, decide, all without a brain, without neurons, just cytoplasm and mystery. And malleefowl build temperature-controlled mounds, monitoring constantly, adjusting, maintaining 93 degrees precisely. Birds as engineers, as thermometers, melting, boundaries dissolving completely now. Diving bell spiders carry air underwater, weaving silk chambers, breathing below, living in private atmospheres. and horned lizards spray blood from their eyes, deliberately rupturing vessels, weaponizing their own circulatory systems, self-harm as survival, your thoughts scattering, dissipating, gone before forming. After 17 years underground, cicadas emerge as millions at once, and fungus takes some Massospora, eating their abdomens, replacing flesh with spores. But the cicada flies on, tries to mate, piloted by something else, and squid edit their own RNA, rewriting genetic instructions in real time, adapting moment to moment, becoming new versions of themselves as needed, drifting like dust, like pollen, like thoughts at dawn. Humpback whales compose songs that spread across oceans, evolving like pop hits, and Deinococcus radiodurans survives nuclear reactors, repairs shattered DNA perfectly, lives in conditions designed to sterilize, to kill, thriving in apocalypse, floating in perfect darkness, perfect peace. Corpse flowers bloom reeking of rot, of death, deceiving flies into pollination, and electric eels puppet their prey, sending pulses that trigger muscle spasms, remote control through electricity, and Hydra replace every cell, every few weeks. Ship of Theseus made flesh, potentially immortal through constant renewal, sinking through the mattress, through the planet, toward the core. Sandbox trees explode their seeds, detonating like grenades, flinging them at 150 miles per hour. And Namib fog beetles harvest water from air, from morning mist, drinking clouds in the driest place on earth. Thump, thump, almost imperceptible, almost gone. Crows remember faces, hold grudges across years, teach other crows about threats, and clownfish change a sex as needed, female to male, male to female, gender as strategy, as social adaptation, and mantis shrimp see 16 types of colour, perceive distinctions we cannot imagine, and strike so fast water vaporizes, hitting twice, once with club, once with cavitation bubble, melting into the vast forgiving dark. Planarian worms regenerate from pieces and remember. Training surviving in new brains grown from tails, and emperor penguins walk 70 miles across ice, fast for 2 months on eggs balanced on their feet, losing half their body weight, waiting, protecting, loving through Antarctic winter, your breath almost still, barely there. Mushrooms create their own wind, heat from respiration generating currents that carry spores, and salamanders rebuild limbs perfectly, bone, nerve, muscle, in exact arrangement, no scarring, no approximation, just perfect reconstruction, floating, suspended in honey-thick nothing. Leaf-cutter ants farm fungi underground, cities of millions tending gardens, and pufferfish inflate with water, become spheres covered in toxic spines, and parrots fashion tools, teach their young, pass knowledge culturally across generations, drifting toward the quiet core, where all is rest. Some flowers catapult pollen at 600 miles per hour, faster than sound, and thermophiles love boiling acid, require it, thriving at temperatures that denature most proteins, and paradise tree snakes flatten their bodies, glide 40 meters through air, flying without wings, heavier than stars, lighter than thought. Sea turtles navigate oceans using Earth's magnetic field, magnetite in their brains, returning to birth beaches across thousands of miles. And caterpillars call ants with vibrations, hire bodyguards, pay them in sweet secretions. And crystal jellyfish gave us GFP, their scream of light becoming medicine, becoming Nobel Prizes, becoming vision into the microscopic, sinking, almost there, almost completely dissolved into sleep. Moss survives 400 years without water, then greens in hours when rain returns, and barn owls fly in absolute silence, specialized feathers absorbing all sound, death arriving unheard, and hairworm parasites hijack grasshopper minds, commanding them to drown, to seek water, to die so the worm can emerge. Your heartbeat, memory, suggestion, barely real. Darwin's frogs carry tadpoles in their vocal sacs, birthing children from their throats, and nectar bats pollinate entire rainforests in single nights, and mantis shrimp with hammer claws shatter shells, create shock waves, strike with ballistic force, melting, gone, almost gone into the darkness. Mimosa leaves fold when touched, and army ants bridge rivers with their own bodies, living architecture, and basilisk lizards run on water, and bombardier beetles spray boiling chemicals, detonating inside themselves, surviving explosions, floating in the space where self dissolves. Antarctic ice fish have transparent blood, no hemoglobin, and planarians fed trained worms learn faster, memory transferred through consumption, and water spiders breathe underwater in silk bells, and zombie fungus knows time, direction, navigates ants to perfect death spots, drifting, almost sleeping, almost dreaming. Humboldt squid hunt in coordinated packs, flashing color plans, and sequoias need fire to germinate, and mud skippers evolve before our eyes, and fungi digest plastic, and sensitive plants sleep every night, and glass frogs hide transparent in plain sight, and whales hold breath for hours, and pennycress cleans poisoned soil, and dippers sing underwater, and spiderlings balloon across continents, and Chernobyl fungus eats radiation, and prime number cicadas emerge on schedules that prevent synchronization with predators, and the octopus dreams 8 dreams all at once, perhaps, colors flickering, minds negotiating, in sleep, in darkness, and mystery. Life on Earth, breathing, pulsing, regenerating. 4 billion years of impossible becoming possible, of boundaries dissolving, of everything connected, everything reaching, everything adapting, and you're part of this, part of the pattern, part of the great breathing, drifting with the mysteries, with the sharks outliving empires, with the forests whispering in darkness, with the fungi glowing like fallen stars, with all the life that survives, that thrives in extreme cold, extreme heat, in pressure, in poison, in darkness, absolute. There's nothing you need to remember, nothing to hold, just drift, sink, let go. Your body healing, rebuilding, while you float, while you rest, while you dissolve into the gentle dark. The universe keeps turning. Life on Earth keeps breathing, pulsing, regenerating, and will keep drifting, floating together through the mysteries, 100 Life on Earth mysteries, looping softly, endlessly, through the night, and will keep drifting, floating together through the mysteries.